Welcome guys. Just enjoy the music so far. We're gonna start in a little bit. Just want you to enjoy the music on a wonderful Thursday evening. And we're gonna start in a little bit.
Turn forever hand in hand. Take it all in all your stride. It is taken for love forever. Love is freely. Turn forever, you and me. Windmill for the ladies. Is everybody
Oh, nice. I'm just checking the chat box. Chengdu, Shanghai. Welcome. Hey guys. All right. Okay. Welcome. I hope you enjoyed the music, personal playlist. And yeah, welcome to the event. Today, Startup Grind is hosting how to build a sustainable tech startup in China. And we have great partners here with people from Integrity, StartupYard, and China Admission, and of course, Startup Grind. We are hosting the speaker today, Joseph Zhang. He's going to be talking about how to build a sustainable tech startup. And yeah, before I make a more formal introduction, first of all, I would like to give the word to Startup Grind Beijing's director, Yasmin, and she will give you a little introduction about Startup Grind, what we do, and and how you can connect with us.
All right. Hello and welcome to our session today. I'm excited to see so many of you joining us so late, probably after work, or if you're not in China during your lunch break, maybe. Welcome, definitely. We are happy to see you joining us, and actually that you're interested in learning how you can build a sustainable tech startup in China. Here at Startup Grind, as Sabrina mentioned, I'm the director, and she is supporting me as a co-director, and we have also another co-director and an amazing team full of volunteers. So this is actually a volunteer role for all of us. And we are excited to introduce Startup Grind a bit more and tell you what we are actually doing. So if you never heard about Startup Grind, I hope that's not the case. But if you haven't, we are the world's largest community of startups, founders, and innovators. So if you go to any major city in the world, you can actually find a Startup Grind chapter. And our mission is all about connecting like-minded people. So if you are a founder or you want to be a founder and you need a community, you need resources, just check out any chapter in your city, join events. So we do host monthly events such as fireside chat, founders lunches, and you can find us in more than 125 countries. And we have a quite strong presence in China as well. So currently in all major big cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, you can visit Startup Grind events. So if you're not in Beijing, and I saw some people in the chat joining from Shanghai and other cities, feel definitely free to check out the local chapters. We are also happy to connect you with the local chapters if you are interested. Yeah, what can you expect? As I mentioned, we do monthly fireside chats, which are open to everyone. But at the same time, we have also some more closed events, such as Founders Lunch, where only selected founders can attend, to really discuss, okay, what challenges do I face as an entrepreneur? Who can help me? These are more the closed events, and also very important, we do have very big social events yearly, and one is just coming up next weekend. The Christmas fair, Startup Christmas Fair, is happening on 11th December, which is a big celebration at the end of the year with all our startups, with the community, and just together and have a good time. If you're interested, don't forget to follow us, and you can also receive some information about the upcoming Christmas party. Our values, actually, that's what a lot of people are attracted to Startup Grind. Are the values, and I think everyone who's part of the team really believes in these values. So we don't just say it like, don't give, don't take, but give first. But we also believe in these values, and we do really make friends. Startup Grind is a family. I got to know most of my best friends for Startup Grind, and also worldwide. We can definitely connect to like-minded friends because of the big network we have, and helping others. This is one of our main missions, to really provide resources, the help everyone needs, because being an entrepreneur is not easy journey as if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're thinking to become one. That's why you're probably here and are interested in joining the bootcamp. It's not easy. So we definitely want to create a community where you can find the help and resources. We do host a yearly conference in Silicon Valley. Unfortunately, we from China won't be able to attend, but we do have a lot of known past speakers, also a lot of industry leaders, not only globally, but locally, who are attending our events, who are mentoring startups, and also providing or being speakers at our events. And this is our amazing team that we are all proud of. As I said, we're all volunteers, really great people. So if you're also interested in joining us, let us know. We're always happy to get new team members on board. Yeah, if you want to join or get connected to us, you can follow Wechat. You can reach out to Sabrina and me, and we're definitely happy to also add you to our Wechat groups if you want to receive any further information about events and all our activities. Thank you, and I'm just heading back to Sabrina.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you. Well, so I don't want to distract any longer. I think you came all here also to learn how to build a sustainable tech startup. So I'm gonna give the word to Joseph Zhang, founder of Fintegrity, also CFO and partner of NHAC. And why he's speaking today is because he has so much experience also from the startup point, but also from a venture capital perspective. And furthermore, also he has huge financial management experiences. So yeah, Joseph, I'm just gonna give the word to you. You can just feel free to share your screen. Yeah. Make sure to unmute.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Better.
So I assume everyone, good afternoon. It's quite actually evening now. So good evening. I'm looking at the European time, so actually it's still afternoon time in Europe. So my name is Joseph. It's nice to talk to you, everyone. And also thank you for special thank to Sabrina for giving me the opportunity to share my experience and knowledge. So today we'll be talking about how to build a sustainable tech startup in China, because I think many people think about how to build a business, but the perspective is very different. But from my previous experience, it's more like from a CFO perspective. Then from a CFO perspective, it's quite important to think about the sustainability, because we experience a lot of tech companies, they have a in average, very short lifetime in general in China. So I will try to do some sharing and see what kind of things they've done wrong and what kind of error that they could potentially, or the failure that they potentially could avoid in the early stage. So to start with, there's a very short disclaimer. So our presentation is, we have to reserve the right. So please don't share it publicly without our notification, without our approval. And also our workshop and presentation is based on our own interpretation, based on the existing or known tax law and also our own experiences. So we don't judge, or we don't judge or comment on what other institution, what is their opinion on the different topics or in the similar topics. but we also don't take the responsibility of your decision based on what you heard today. It's quite legal things. So today we will talk about mainly 3 parts. So how to evaluate whether your business or a business you want to start off, whether this is a sustainable or scalable tech business. And secondly, we will very shortly touch about the typical most common mistakes that people do when it comes to the fundraising. And the last part, I will try to share some of my personal cases, how a case could potentially fail and why it failed so badly, and also very successful case. And a short background of myself. I'm Norwegian, grew up Chinese. So the past 10 years I've been working in Shanghai. I have my master from and the Norwegian Technology University, and also to that. And I previously worked many years in the corporate banking and also a VC / accelerator, and also as a financial director for a Norwegian company based in Asia. And I also have to work as a CFO and help the Norwegian company and finance more than 100 million RMB via equity. And that is a cross-border e-commerce in Shanghai. And the past 4 years, I've been working as a CFO, mainly CFO or outsourced CFO, mainly helping more small and medium-sized enterprise to basically have more sustainable business model in China. So far we have worked more than 100, almost 200 companies in Shanghai. So basically, with Integrity, we are a small institution that provide integrated management consulting, CFO, M&A services, accounting, and tax optimization. So to start with, how to evaluate a sustainable or scalable tech business, I think that will be important to, or it's actually quite simple. It makes things simpler if we take this from a VC perspective. So firstly, we will look at the industry opportunity. So it's like the track we have. And secondly, we look at the business model, how we actually do the products, how we want to solve the problem, or whether the problem is big enough. But the business model, sometimes from VC's perspective, very often we define into 2 tracks. One thing is whether they actually have a deep tech that they invent, like a very product-based company. Or if they have a very innovative service model, for instance, like Uber, like what we have in China, like Didi or Airbnb, they are not very tech-heavy business, but it's like innovative business model compared to maybe like Tesla, where they have a very product-heavy business. And then the next topic is the financial modeling. It's great to have a very great business model, but sometimes you also need to try to transfer a business model into a financial numbers. So that is also important to see whether the financial model and also the planning, the detailed planning, whether that can bring sustainability to the company. And then thereafter, we'll see the team and then the competitive advantage of the company. And the last one is maybe many VC they kind of didn't look at in this part, or most of the entrepreneur, they totally ignore the financial and also legal and also the tax sustainability. So in that topic, I will share more cases. So firstly, when we look at the industry opportunity, I think it's very natural to look at it's a growing industry, not necessarily a big or existing big industry, but it's very important that this is a racing company. It's not enough that this is a racing, but and also it has to grow fast enough. For instance, if you look at the electronic cars for 10 years ago, we know that renewable energy and this kind of electronic car is the future, but we didn't know that how fast it could grow. So for electronic car, it wasn't a very interesting market for many investors back in time because of both the upstream and downstream, for instance, the vendors and also the clients. They're not mature enough to buy the product from you and also provide you, for instance, the battery. Most of the vehicle cars, the problem before is that they don't have a good battery enough to say enough power to drive the car. So that is a very typical example of, we know that this is a racing industry, a growing industry, but we know that that industry is not growing fast enough. And that industry becomes very hot today, especially in the Chinese markets. And the second thing is the carbon neutralization is also become very hot in China. You could see that many listed company in China now is very much based on the carbon neutralization. But at the same time, the Chinese government also strongly supporting this industry, so that they also have a huge political incentive behind that. Same also is the semiconductor and also the AI industry. So, and secondly, it's important to look at the volume of the industry has to be big enough, because many VC or many investors, they're only interested into the valuation of the company, which means we expect this project to be listed, and which also means if the valuation or the market size of this industry, if that is not bigger than $1 billion USD, then this or a company that can have a valuation above $1 billion USD, then there's no chance that VC will be interested into such industry. So this has to be big. And sometimes a hot industry not necessarily fit your project. For instance, the carbon neutralization may not fit your technology background. So that is also something very important. So that is why many people, they choose maybe other industry instead of the hottest industry currently. So sometimes if you look at the industry, I think it's important to do a PESTEL analysis. PESTEL analysis, maybe some people, they have heard it, if people have taken some business administration. So that is like the political situation, and also the environment, and also the society, also the technology situation in the market, and E also for the, I think, the economic situation. For instance, if you do this business in Shanghai versus you do the same industry in Ukraine or Norway or Sweden, other countries, the whole industry will be very different. And L for, I'm not sure, maybe I've forgotten now. The L is for not labor, but I think other things.
I think legal.
Yeah, legal. Yes, that is legal. Yeah. So we will come back to the legal on the last, because actually that is also very important. Whether this, for instance, blockchain in China, blockchain is a super hot industry right now, but it's kind of forbidden now in China. So that is a very important situation. It's a very important factor to look at. Yes. And secondly, when we look at the business model, I think it's very important to check out what kind of what problem you're actually solving. And the pain point they're solving, is it really painful? Because we have experienced that some people, they're trying to build a platform for that and trying to build a event participant platform for that. And they're trying to be a little bit more innovative on some business model. But sometimes the problem they're solving or the improvement they're doing, sometimes they're not hitting the main pain point. I mean, it's not pain enough, basically. It's good to have, but it's not a must. So sometimes it's very important to find out, to have empathy, to see on a client's perspective, whether the improvement you're doing on your product or the innovative business model you're doing, whether this is actually touching the pain point. And then secondly, also very important to see whether they actually have a real customer who actually paying for the solution. Sometimes, for instance, we also experience some of our clients, they have a wonderful products, but the target clients, they actually don't have the budget for that. They feel it's very good to have it, but they just don't really have the budget. But so in other words, it could mean that they have very low ROI, like a return of investment on such product that they provide. So that is why it's important to find out those parts. And also, can this be done with the resources and the capacity available? Because sometimes building a business model, you have to first look at, do you need the investor to support you? If you doesn't really need investor behind to support you, then that is more like the egg and chicken problem. So I think it's important in the beginning to try to not maybe very rely on funding. That part I will come back to, but at least when you build business model, check what kind of the resources that is actually available for you. I think that is very important. Yeah. So 1.3, this topic is about the financial modeling, and a lot of entrepreneurs, they have totally neglect this part. They totally ignore this part. They have not really set up an Excel to really put the numbers, like how much is the gross contribution margin on the unit price that they are producing or selling, or the service they're providing. They have to put everything into number to figure out whether this model is making money, because that is extremely important. Because if you don't have a money machine or money engine in this business, you will basically die very quickly. You cannot really rely on operation based on balance sheet, which means you cannot rely on the business, rely on the investment you have. But it's important to have operating revenue that keep your business up and running. And that is why it's important to forecast a reasonable but also a reliable sales, because we have seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they make a very unreasonable forecast and also unreasonable expense that corresponding. They always experience that they're more expense in real and less sales revenue. So that is actually really bad. So instead of that, make instead a very, very reasonable and more realistic budget, and also list the resources you need to reach the goal, and try to make at least 1 year plan that can actually make your business up and running. And it's important to find out what kind of advantage you have in your team. So that is why it's important to have a kind of SWOT analysis. It's like the strengths, weakness, and also opportunity and threats in your team or in your project, because there's always some advantage in your project, right? But sometimes you also need to find out what is the weakness of your team. And many people, they very quickly start something, but then they realize that either there are already some existing competitor in the market that is actually doing much better than they do. They totally forgot what is their strengthness, and their business model. Sometimes they have to change based on their strengthness, because if they don't have the advantage in this industry or in this model based on their team, then you make the whole thing very, very, very difficult. So they need to also look at whether they have advantage in design and also the product, and also the procedures they have, what kind of channels they have, like the resource channel they have, and also the team, what kind of the teammates they have, and whether they have the funding. And the last part is, I personally think is quite important to add, because most of the VC, if you look at the VC, most of the coaches, they will talk about the topics that I just mentioned, but this topic has very limited been mentioned in most of the coaches. So making a business with a reasonable contribution is extremely, extremely important. Contribution margin means all the variable revenue minus all the variable costs, which means if you don't look at the fixed costs, but all the variable or business related revenue and costs is the contribution margin. So if there's no contribution margin, it means your business is not sustainable. That is the minimum requirements. And sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs, we have seen a foreign business or foreign entrepreneur, when they build business in China, sometimes they actually don't meet the legal and the compliance requirements. For instance, just give an example, we know that a lot of foreigners, they are trying to build some IT company or internet company, platform-based companies. But most of the people, they don't understand that the foreign business or WOFE, they're not allowed to have ICP. They can only own 49%. They can only own a joint venture company that they own 49%. So they had to cooperate with a Chinese investor or Chinese owner that own more than 51% of the joint venture company that can actually hold an ICP license. ICP license is a license that can give you the kind of a permit to do the online-based business. So many people, they totally forgot, or most people, they don't have clue about this. But I think it's important that they check this out. Every time they're trying to do some business, trying to talk to some lawyer or talk to some people who understand the compliance, or people have done the similar business in the same industry, and check whether there's any compliance or legal issue. Another typical example is blockchain. And another thing is also very important. We have seen that some platform when they do, I think more than 60 or 70% of the business they're doing, they have an extremely high tax concern. It's a hidden problem for many companies, because if you look at foreign companies, normally they get more attention by the Chinese tax authority compared to maybe Chinese companies. So that is extra careful when it comes to the tax. Like I've seen many platform-based business where they try to pay some money to the individuals. They don't really have the good tax structure that allow them to pay them in the right way, and that is causing them actually bigger and also bigger tax hole, like concern or problem, and the hole just become bigger. So I think that is also very important to understand whether there's any tax issue there. And many businesses, they fail because of those issues, and because they don't take those costs into the accounts when they do start a business. And after 2 years or 3 years, when they realize this is a huge problem, most of the time is already very late, and it's basically unfixable, those issues. Okay. Second part, when it comes to fundraising, we will not talk about how to do fundraising, how to proceed, and what the kind of thing you need to prepare. But I just want to mention the most common misunderstanding. I think a lot of people, they try to get fundraising via a PowerPoint, but sometimes it's very difficult. We have seen that some people, they succeed the financing. They reach the money just by one PPT. We have actually client that actually got that, but more than 90% of the projects, more than startup projects, they don't really get the funding by a PowerPoint without any products or any sales. Therefore, we strongly suggest that spend a lot of effort, focus on the products that can generate sales. Most importantly, or even better, is you have products ready, but also you have some existing clients ready. That makes the whole thing even better. And try to not to have a business that very rely on fundraising. That was already previously mentioned. And also, most of the companies, they have a very massive corporate finance and legal structure, and later on will causing a very huge problem. We have seen that a lot of companies, for instance, two partners that are 50% jointly own the project, and after 2 or 3 years, because the legal structure based on that, and when they disagree, it will causing a huge fight internally and causing a huge business failure for that project. We also seen that very famous project like IT projects, very successful in our community, but they're very totally wrong legal and finance structure. That is causing investor that totally lost the incentive to invest into the company. And we also seen the projects. We have seen one entrepreneur, like I think it's Forbes under 30, like very talented entrepreneurs that have very terrible accounting structure, basically no corporate structure at all. And she lost financing. An investor, they did the due diligence, but she lost 10 million investment because the investor says that was the most terrible, most messy corporate structure she have ever seen. And then she lost the whole investment. So they ended up that she just quit the entrepreneur project and she got a new job in the investment banking. So we have like a lot of examples. Like over time, we could easily summarize at least 60% of the entrepreneurs, they fail in the fundraising based on those facts, based on those bullet points I'm showing here. And also, I will try, I think based on the time, I will be trying very quickly go through the cases. I have 2 cases I want to share. One is the cross-border e-commerce, and second is a very successful drone case. So both are the personal experience. So the first case is quite advanced Icefresh. It's a seafood e-commerce. We financed quite much. We financed all the money based on the defrosting technology we have. So it's the tech-based. And we source a lot of seafood from like Norway, Sri Lanka, US, etc. We spent like 3 million in the opening ceremony. We had a very good business. We came to the second rank number 2 in the corresponding category in Tmall. We have a huge team. We have our own warehouse. Yeah, we basically have our own stores in all in more than 10 platforms. And this is just showing that we have a negative contribution margin or negative gross margin in B2C market compared to B2B. As such, analysis is super important to first find a cost driver factor and then do what we call for vertical analysis, and then to see what kind of different sales channel they have different contribution margin. And then we could very easily see that we are making a lot of loss in the B2C market compared to B2B market. So it's very easily to see that reason we do a lot of B2C sales is because of we want to have more visibility of the brand in the beginning, but we will never make money on the B2C. So from a financial strategy point of view, we will definitely need to put all the assets to focus on the B2B sales compared to B2C sales. But still, our decision makers decided to not spending all the assets on B2B. Instead, the decision maker decided to put all the assets and also all the resources. So more than 95% of the resources and the team effort were putting on the B2C instead of B2B. So then we burned 100 million RMB very quickly. By 1.5 years, we basically burned all the money. And I was totally disagree with such business model because it's very clear that it's very unsustainable. And I quit the project just half a year before it went bankrupt. A second case which is super successful. They have recently got very nice financing. When we summarize this project, we experienced that people who don't get financing, they always find it difficult. But when the project first have the 1 or 2 investors, then everything will go easier. So this is a drone company that do inspection of ships and also the oil and gas platforms, because we know that there are a lot of ships that is very, very high. And also there are a lot of places it's very difficult to do inspection. So that is why having a drone will helps a lot and make things easier and make it safer to do inspection and also more cost efficient. But building a drone based on nothing is very, very difficult, because we already know that China and also all the drone companies, they also have a very, very good drones. So the team that did was they put a lot of different parts together from different suppliers. So they really need to find their advantage. So their advantage is on the sensors and also the way they calculate and do the analysis, because the founder had a background from the DNV, which is the biggest certification society for ships and oil and gas. So so the company have a so the founder has a very good opinion, and they have very good knowledge about how the inspection should proceed. So he know how to design the product based on inspections needs and also the measurements they need in the sensor. So they spent a lot of time in the products. I think they spent more than 2 years, almost 3 years, in product development without doing any sales. Of course, they got funding from the university, also got investment from my fund. We also invested in this company. So after a lot of development and a lot of focus on the product, they now, in this year, they successfully financed more than 20 million RMB. And in this round, they also got a loop agreement by the Norwegian state-owned oil company, oil petroleum company, and also the DNV, the Norwegian Certification Society. So I think that is a typical very good example where they really focus on the advantage they have, focus on the product they have. They really need to find out the advantage and spend a lot of effort. Compared to many entrepreneurs in for instance, China, they really quickly want to grow. They really want to have money. They want to get investor. Those guys in the scout inspection, they don't really spend too much effort on the financing side. They believe that if they have very good products and they have very good advantage in the markets, then all this will come naturally. So quick conclusion is, I think if you want to build a sustainable business, I think you really need to put a lot of efforts on the products, sales, finance, tax, and legal, and build your strengthness. That's super important. And also outsource the parts of your business that is relevant. The drone project I just shared, they didn't have any CFO in their team in the beginning. So I was also the outsourced CFO for that project in the beginning, and also because of my fund invested into this project. And also very important that this to make the business survive is more important, because we see many companies, they don't take compromise. They really want to think big and trying to do things big instead of do small things. Sometimes entrepreneur can take part-time and just to keep the cash flow and keep the project running. So I think that is also important. But of course, most importantly is don't give up. For instance, I've been running my own company, and we also try to transfer into a technology, AI, and also internet company like the Fintegrity. So, and we're also spending the past 1 year to doing our own development. So it takes time. At the same time, you also need to survive. So it's very important to, so don't give up. Yes, I think that is a little bit too much from my side, but
oh no.
Any questions?
Yeah, we're gonna keep the Q&A. Please keep the questions for a little bit later. Thank you, Joseph. I mean, we have here Pradeep saying what an outstanding performance, outstanding, sharing this is today. So I definitely, there's so much knowledge from your side. Oh yeah, here we go. Scan the QR code, add Joseph also directly.
Yes, that is my personal WeChat.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Later we're gonna also give you a QR code where you're gonna add it to the group with all the participants, and also the more details, like any kind of documents or anything you guys want, we're gonna share that too. Actually, what I want to do right now, because also there were some people also coming to learn a little bit more about the PreAccelerated Bootcamp, which is also following up to what Joseph has been presenting and sharing to how to build a sustainable tech startup in China. And actually, no matter where you are, it could be, we have people all around the world participating tonight. So it doesn't really matter where you are. But our founders are in China and going to share. They're international people. So today I want to talk about the PreAccelerated Bootcamp that we have launched. And let me see. Yeah, so it's the PreAccelerated Bootcamp, and we have kicked it off with the 1st of December. And yeah, we are going to share a little bit more what this is actually about, what can you get from it, what kind of startups came out of it, and who are going to be the speaker, what are we going to teach. So this is an opportunity for you guys to actually practically start your own startup. And there are certain processes, certain steps that you can learn from it. We've invited extraordinary successful entrepreneurs to share with you their expertise and also to teach you and interact with you. So first of all, so this is also in collaboration with StartupYard. What StartupYard does is that we shape global entrepreneurs that build sustainable ventures to make the world better. So with all that we're doing, we're trying to help entrepreneurs, even people who are not entrepreneurs yet, but want to become ones, just for you guys to build a more sustainable business, and so we can all make the world better. So here are some pictures. So it's completely virtual. You don't have to be in China. You can be all around the world. There are some pictures from our previous batches. And yeah, so we have a mix of Chinese people, internationals. The whole bootcamp is in English. And yeah, the whole session basically takes 6 weeks. And I want to show you a video clip that's really quickly. Maybe I'm not going to show until the end, because I'm going to share it later also into the group chat that hopefully you will then scan and join. And so we're going to show a video so to have you understand how this bootcamp actually works. Okay. And Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, works. Thanks.
All right.
We want to simplify validation testing.
So we want to question the way we learn that hasn't been changing in decades.
We want to enable people to live a healthy lifestyle, providing the best quality services and products that are certified and organic.
Our vision is to create an AI application that empowers Chinese farmers to operate more sustainably and productively and in their agricultural businesses.
I'm from Plug and Play.
Heading the accelerator at XNode.
And I'm from Miracle Plus. So we're formerly YC China.
I'm going to dive into this with you guys, and I'm actually going to break down a few things that you guys are going to really understand. With this kind of thing that I just now showed you, those 4 things, I can look at any company and instantly say or yes. So how are you going to get actually customers? Let me tell me my example. I'm going to straight away throw out a great growth hack that you're going to love.
Venture capital firm is going to force you to evaluate your company because they want shares. They don't want promises. They give you the money and you give them shares.
All right. Ugh. Okay. I'm going to share the video later. It takes a little bit longer still. I'm going to share the video later. I hope it gave you some kind of, insight of what we are doing at the bootcamp. So, oops, let me see if this is working now. Oh, yeah. So who came out of the startups? So we have a few startups who came out of it. Within those 6 weeks of program, you learn, we're going to go for the curriculum in a little bit. So those are the startups who came out of it. So we have Xiaonong Tong, who also were in the video, who focuses on AI agriculture to help agricultural firms and companies in China to identify those diseases in the plants. So what they did during this bootcamp is they found their co-founders. They participated in high school startup competitions. This is it's a Beijing, one of the biggest startup competitions. And they also joined an accelerator after this bootcamp. Then what the testing body group did, they were a startup that is testing softwares for B2B companies. They won the third prize of Dongsheng Startup Competition, and they're still continuing their road as a startup. And what also another company, the Women Retreat, they also found the co-founders within the bootcamp, and they launched already 4 MVPs, the minimum viable product, which you will also learn how to create one and how to launch one during this bootcamp. And currently, they're also building their community. So there are many, many more that comes out from this bootcamp. There are just a few examples. And here we go. So if you want to know, okay, what are we actually learning during those sessions and what do we actually do? So we split up this bootcamp with those 6 weeks. And what you learn from week 1 is idea generation. So what we want you to do is to get inspired to figure out how can I generate my own startup idea. So what we're actually doing here is to unleash the entrepreneur in you. Then in week 2, we're gonna tell you about how to find co-founders, what's the value of having a co-founder, what does it mean, and how can you build a proper company culture. And week 3, we're gonna tackle the problem or market analysis. As we have heard from Joseph, also it's very important to figure out if what problem are you solving? Is the market the right one that you're targeting? And also to see if those customers that you think are on the market, are they really your customers? Who are your real customers and your potential customers? Week 4, we're going to tackle how to build an MVP and how to launch it in the lean startup process. Those are just terms that every startup or every entrepreneur, they're just like ABC. So those are the things that you learn, but also kind of digest and will be very integrated into your brain. And then in week 5, Joseph, he shared already a few things, but going to get more in depth about how to really in depth build a sustainable business model and talk more about funding and share his experiences. Then in week 6, what we do is pitch day. You have seen where we usually invite some accelerators, we invite some angel investors to come and be part of the jury, to give you feedback, to connect with you guys. If they really, really like an idea, they will stay in contact with you, they get in touch with you. So this bootcamp is a crash course of how to do a startup within 6 weeks. And yeah, I hope you guys kind of in this structure kind of can get a gist of what we're doing. And oh yeah, let me also show you. You see? Oh, okay, this is already, yeah. So basically, this is 6 weeks bootcamp, and we're gonna share more in the Wechat group that you can add. And if you also have questions, then we will also be open. Please scan the QR code. So this is for this today's event. We're gonna share more details about the bootcamp. We're gonna share more details about events that are happening, or we're gonna share more details about Joseph sharing. And if you want to connect with him, didn't have the chance before, this is also where you can connect. And please scan the QR code and get more information there. And what we're doing now, I think we're really, really good in time. Wow. All right. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to open for Q&A. I hope you guys, I see already there are a few questions in the Q&A session. And we're going to be opening up for questions from your side. Let me see how to do this the best way. Okay. I'm just going to read whatever I see here in this moment. Can I take it from the Q&A box? There's one question regarding the bootcamp. The bootcamp will start on the 28th of December. So the application has started already. We're going to share it in the group. Make sure that you scan the QR code. We're going to share the application link also in the group. And yeah, it will start by the end of December and will last 6 weeks. All right, I think there's a question regarding the SWOT analysis. This one is for you, Joseph. I had a question about the SWOT analysis. What are some of the real weaknesses or threats that a business, especially a new business, might face in a kind of centralized economy, but a free market? Or if there are strengths or opportunities compared with other decentralized economies? I mean, which environment would be more profitable and safe for an investment? That's a long question. Joseph, here we go.
Yeah, I will try. Let me try to, yes, very good questions actually. So, firstly, I don't know how to define the centralized and also decentralized economy and also the open economy, because, for instance, we are very focused on China today. So if you look at the Chinese market now, it's in a way centralized economy, very political controlled or driven, but at the same time, it's an open market. So it is an open market. So if you look at it, SWOT, I think it's more focused on the company internal. We really need to look at your team, like your skill set, your competence, because that is natural that you start with that when you start a business. Because normally, if of course, if you have a father or family that, or if you have a saving with like more than million and 100 million, you start, and that of course that a capital is of course become your advantage. But and that makes your very good in a starting point. But otherwise, normally we look at skill set and experiences, and also the resource you have is become more natural. And try to answer you the decentralized economies. I think if you look at the whole European market and the American market, I think that is more decentralized in a way, because you could do a business cross-border very easily, especially online business and also tech business. And which environment will be more profitable and safe for an investment. If you stay from investors' perspective, I need to differentiate between offshore and onshore investors. I think a lot of offshore investors, when I mean offshore, is outside of China, and that is. I think a lot of offshore investors are a little bit skeptical of the domestic projects, because they will feel that it's a little bit out of control in a way. It's a little bit different, and because most of the investors, when they invest, they think about the IPO. So normally, if they want to invest in a project in China, they normally have a BVI or an offshore structure where they have most of the shareholders outside of outside of China. I'm not sure if I've answered your question correctly, but yes, it's a little bit general answer.
Yes, seems like a very specific question. I think you can talk like a lot about it. but let's continue the rest of the questions, as we do have a few others. I hope Joseph will able to answer in the best way he can. The next question is, hi there, great presentation, thank you. How would you convince investors who expect return from year one, and when it needs to gain traction and R&D, or can 1 year refer to operation time?
Yes, of course. So what I just mentioned is a little bit, firstly, what I mentioned is we have to build a sustainable business and try not to base on the fundraising, based on the investment. But at the same time, if you are a product company, because I also mentioned in the beginning that normally entrepreneur, there are normally two types of company. If your project is very product-based and it requires a long product development process and time, I think the most important is to convince the investor that your product will have a huge advantage, and you have to convince is that why should they choose you to build the product and not all the team. For instance, the drone project I just showed, they have a strong the founder and also the CTO, they have a strong background from DNV, the certification society, and which is one of the most famous, is actually the biggest one now in the world. Because they have the experience from there, and they have a rich experience actually, and they're doing the auditor of all the technology, and they're doing the standardization of all the technology in offshore. So it's natural that when they have such strong technology background, when they do such product, then it helps a lot to convince investor, and compare to maybe other people who try to do this similar industry. So I think it's all about the advantage, especially the comparative advantage.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Okay, I see one is about the bootcamp. How does the bootcamp component be applicable to people outside of China? I mean, that is the thing. Like, we are saying the bootcamp is in China because we've been doing it more focused on China. However, during the past few batches, we have also recognized this is a very generic concept. The bootcamp in the curriculum itself, you can apply it anywhere around the world. So it's not about, so we're going to only teach about how to do it explicitly in China, but how to build an MVP, how to find your co-founders. You know, they can do it. You can do it. You can apply those principles and those theories or those, practical like sharings to anywhere you are in the world. And especially when it comes to what also Joseph was saying, focus on your product, build your product and identify who your customers are. Is the industry the right industry? Those things are techniques that you will need as an entrepreneur. And so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. There are going to be a few insights about China, but yeah, it doesn't take away the component of knowing what you should do, what are the lean startup process, basically. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question. What shall be considered for choosing the starting base for the office, both about the city choosing and country choosing? Joseph? I think this is more regarding now the registration, or like in general, how to when you choose the starting place. You mean like when you register your office, or do you mean like
I think I will try to answer the question. So normally it's a two-part when it comes to registration of your business. I think legally, I think that firstly, when it comes to legal part of that, it depends whether you need to start your business immediately. If you need to do the sales, for instance, in Shanghai, we will strongly suggest you to register your legal entity in Shanghai, because that will allow you to like have the social insurance for your staff, do the sales and contract and invoicing in China, and also directly in Shanghai. But selling in general in China, it doesn't matter which city you are in. So as long as you have a company that's where you live, then from legal side is actually solving your problem. And then because a lot of foreigners, they will have the visa issue in China. So normally you need to have your company in the city you're living in. So that is very important. But then you can sell to the rest of the city in China. So there's no issue that. But if you're not living in China, then it depends whether you have a strong business already, a big business transaction connected to China, and then maybe you need to have a business in China. So, but if you are living in outside of China and you just have small transaction towards Chinese clients, it's totally okay to have offshore company and then do import or export of service or goods. But then when it comes to a second part is then when it comes to your physically, whether you need to how to choose office, then it's more like whether it's really based on, if there's no legal requirement, then I think it's budget issues, whether you just find somewhere very cheap and then you just work normally remotely. But of course, one thing is very, very important is whether you get some good incentive, like good policy to support you, because most of the AI projects now, especially for some high-level talents, a lot of local government, they have some strong incentive to attract talents to do the research in their industry park in China. For instance, like Hangzhou, Shenzhen, and even some smaller city, they have a very good incentive. They even provide like cash incentive to some like PhD and strong engineering projects. So I think that is very important.
Yes.
To check out.
Thank you, Joseph. The next question is from Muhammad. We're working on an IT-enabled startup looking to bridge cross-border trade between China and Pakistan. Are we eligible for the bootcamp? For now, we're based in Pakistan only. Definitely. What you can do, what we are doing is basically we are having an application process. So you can apply and you just upload your CV. You say why you want to join, and then the next thing is that we will then invite you for a video call, just to get to know each other, understand your interest in it and why you want to join it. So we want to see how committed you are. We have very limited spots for this bootcamp because we keep it small in order to make sure that the quality is guaranteed, and so to make sure that you are able to interact with the entrepreneurs and to add a lot of interactions. So that's why we keep the amount of people who are allowed into this bootcamp very small. So yes, but please, I cannot say it right now if you will be passed. So apply for it, and then we will go through the applications together. Yeah. All right. So the next question is from Toby. I've heard you can have an internet ICP in China with a local partner having over 50%, but your company can maintain actual control of the company through contracts. Is this true?
From a legal perspective, when you have it depends. You have to look at the company structure. You have the board, you have the legal representative, like the general manager. So normally, if you look at the whole, if you have less than 50%, let's say 49% of the company, then you basically have lost the ultimate control of the company. But if you are the legal representative or the general manager, you can still take some decision, like a daily decision. But actually, the board, which is the ultimate power, the ultimate control of the company, the board is controlling the company. And also the board is basically decided by the shareholder structure. And again, if the Chinese owner own more than 50%, then the whole company actually controlled by the Chinese part. And we know that a lot back in time, a lot of Chinese companies, they have this kind of proxy contract between individuals. For instance, I stand as the owner of the company, but actually I have a deal with some individual. So a lot of Chinese people, they do that. They have this kind of proxy agreement. But this kind of agreement has lost a lot of legal power now. So it means if in the business license, it says you have less than 50% ownership, then basically you don't have the ultimate control of the company.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Next question is from Wong. What are the best places to start a startup in China as a foreigner? Are tier 1 cities preferable?
Normally, I will maybe say tier 1 cities is, of course, preferable. For some years ago, because of the language and also the openness, and also the people, they are more, for instance, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, those are like more convenient because a lot of infrastructure is more ready. But if you look at the past 1 and 2 years, especially after COVID, you will see that tier 1 cities are very competitive. You will find similar products may already exist, similar service may already exist. You will find the market very difficult to enter because of the competition. So sometimes if you have a good product, even comparatively good product, I will personally maybe suggest to maybe try to go to tier 2 cities instead. We know that if you look at entertainment and the environment is very nice, very comfortable to be, for instance, in Beijing, Shanghai, right? Very nice place and nice community. Infrastructure is just amazing. And we have startup grind, and you have Sabrina in Beijing. So tier 1 cities, I mean, they're just nice. But I feel like if I want to start from zero now, I will maybe go to tier 2 cities now because of the market opportunities. Because I think starting business is not a fun thing. Sometimes it's about whether you can get a business booming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. I'm gonna take the last 2 questions, all right, because we're a little bit over time already. So Calvin is first saying thank you for this awesome presentation, Joseph. He's wondering how you see the regulatory landscape shaping up over the next 3 to 5 years. As there's a constant narrative at present that China is currently uninvestable due to the ever-changing government policies. And I suppose these regulations will eventually apply to startups as they grow bigger and get scrutinized by the local authorities. Question.
Yes, it's actually a very nice opinion. Actually had a call with another partner in my fund, and we also discussed a little bit. We also a little bit frustrated that one thing is about the COVID, but I think the closing down, the feeling of the closing down of China, I think I try to be a little bit careful. It's in many ways, we feel it's a little bit isolated. If you look at all the press from the Chinese government, all the economics and also politics that is going on, China become more and more tougher towards the foreign countries, and and also. One thing is because of COVID, they're trying to looking, on getting people out of, especially foreigner out of China, and they're not letting a lot of foreigner entering China. And we feel that China trying kind of like closing the doors and build their own factory, building their own business. And when they're trying to, when they open up again, they become very strong economy. I think most of the people, they have this kind of feeling. So we do feel a little bit depressed. So I think China will, I always expect that China will open up more, but maybe the openness will maybe delay a little bit more because of the COVID opportunity for the country to, build a bigger country and more strengthness. So I will think the next 3 to 5 years, maybe in the short term, still less openness. But after that, I still believe that in my lifetime, I can still see that China become a little bit like Singapore, where you have a lot of diversity in the society. I really expect that because that is something we are working towards.
Yes, we can hope and be optimistic here. Last question, Natalia. Thank you for the cool presentation. We have our AI humanoid robotics startup in Europe and would like to find a partner or an investor in China because we see that it could be a very good profitable synergy. Do you think we can join the bootcamp, or there are some other variants? Thank you. If there's a bootcamp question, yes, you can still join. We had people in different batches and previous batches also joining from Germany. I don't know where you are exactly from, but we had people from Germany and Slovakia joining. So it's possible. We're gonna, if you have, hopefully you have scanned the QR code. We're in just a little bit. We're gonna share the application link into the group, and then you find more information, and you're also gonna be able to apply for it. So yes, it's possible, and hopefully we can help you. And let's get to know each other better in the video call if you have applied. And yeah, Joseph, you wanna say something around the end? Wrap it up.
No, not. I think more to come. If you are participating, sign up for the bootcamp, and then we can talk more detailed things. I think everything that has been shared is very general. I think a lot of people are very interested into more detailed discussion. So we're looking very forward to have more detailed discussion with everyone.
Yes, I believe so too. Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you, Yasmin. For also co-organizing this China admission too. And this is it for today's event. And we're very looking forward to see as many people as today, and just say, yeah, have a good evening or good afternoon wherever you are in the world. And yeah, let's stay in touch for sure, and hope you enjoyed it. So have a good day, and we're gonna play some music. So in the meantime, you can go and we're gonna play some music. And yeah, it was wonderful getting to know you guys. Let me see if I can just like play the music in the meantime and see you.
Give me a cigarette kiss, burn my lips, make my heart ache. Give me a reason to live and twist and turn till my heart breaks. Oh, I wanna feel